My name is Claire Whitman. I am 28 years old. I have a twin sister. Her name is Vivian. We share the same face. The same birthday. The same blood. We do not share the same worth. Not in my mother's eyes. The night my mother packed my bags and left them on the porch, she didn't cry. She didn't shout. She just said, "Vivian needs the room more than you do." I stood there in the cold. 22 years old. Holding a suitcase that held my whole life. Vivian watched from the window. She didn't come outside. She didn't need to. She already had everything. Let me take you back. Back to where this started. Vivian and I were born 4 minutes apart. She came first. I came second. My mother used to say that those 4 minutes decided everything. She was joking. Or she wasn't. From the beginning, Vivian got the bigger bedroom. Vivian got the piano lessons. Vivian got the birthday parties with the bounce house. I got the smaller room. I got hand-me-down shoes. I got told to share with my sister, even when there was nothing to share. Our father left when we were 6. He didn't fight for custody. He didn't fight for anything. After that, my mother remarried. His name was Gary. Gary had money. Gary had opinions about which daughter deserved investment. He chose Vivian. I don't say this with bitterness. I say this because it's true. Vivian got tutors for the SAT. I got a library card and a used study guide. Vivian got a car for her 16th birthday. I got a job at the grocery store so I could save for my own. I never complained. Complaining wasn't allowed in our house. Complaining was for people who wanted attention. I wanted peace. So I stayed quiet. By 18, Vivian was applying to private colleges with Gary's checkbook behind her. I was applying to community college with my own paycheck behind me. Nobody asked if that felt fair. I didn't ask either. I learned early that some things you don't ask. You just carry them. I carried mine well. I was good at carrying things. I finished my associate's degree while working 2 jobs. Vivian graduated from a 4-year university with a media studies degree and no job waiting. Guess who moved back home rent-free? Guess who paid my own rent, on my own income, in a studio apartment across town? That was the pattern. Vivian struggled, and the house opened its arms. I struggled, and the house looked the other way. I used to think it would even out eventually. I used to think adulthood would be the great equalizer. I was wrong. It only got worse. By 24, I had a stable job in logistics. Steady paycheck. Small apartment. Nothing glamorous. But mine. Vivian, by 24, had gone through 3 jobs and 2 breakups. Each time, she moved back into my mother's house. Each time, my mother welcomed her like a hero returning from war. I visited on Sundays. Dinner was always the same. My mother would ask Vivian about her creative journey. She would ask me if I was still doing that warehouse thing. Logistics coordinator. Not a warehouse thing. But I stopped correcting her. Then Gary's business hit trouble. Nothing catastrophic. Just tight months. My mother called me first. Not because she wanted to talk to me. Because she needed something. Could you help with the electric bill this month? Just until things settle. I said yes. Of course I said yes. She was still my mother. That 1 month became 18 months. I paid the electric bill. Then the car insurance. Then Vivian's phone plan, because she's job hunting and needs to stay reachable. Nobody ever asked Vivian for anything. They only asked me. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself family helps family. Then came the day that changed everything. Vivian got engaged. Her fiancé's family had money. A real wedding was being planned. A real budget was being discussed. My mother called a family meeting. I assumed it was about wedding logistics. I was half right. We need to talk about the house, my mother said. Gary and I are downsizing. We're moving into a condo. Vivian and her fiancé need somewhere to stay while they save for their own place. I nodded. That made sense. Until the next sentence. So we're going to need your room back. My room. The room I had been renting from them. Paying rent for. Every single month, on top of everything else I already covered. I don't understand, I said. I don't live there anymore. I haven't lived there in years. I know, my mother said. But your things are still in storage in that room. We need the space cleared by the end of the month. I asked where I was supposed to put 4 years of stored belongings, on top of losing yet another thing that was supposedly mine. My mother's answer was simple. Vivian needs the room more than you do. Those words. The same words from years earlier, except now they weren't about a bedroom. They were about my entire place in this family. I didn't argue. I didn't cry in front of her. I said okay, and I hung up. That night, alone in my apartment, something shifted in me. Not anger. Something quieter. Something clearer. I stopped seeing this as unfair treatment I had to accept. I started seeing it as information. Information about where I actually stood. And once you have information like that, you can finally make a decision. I didn't make a scene. I didn't post about it online. I didn't call a family meeting of my own. I made a spreadsheet. Every payment I had made for my mother and Gary over the past 3 years. The electric bills. The car insurance. Vivian's phone plan. The temporary loans that were never repaid. The storage room rent I paid monthly for a room I didn't even live in. The total came to $31,400. I sat with that number for a long time. Then I did something I had never done before. I stopped. I stopped paying the electric bill. I stopped covering the car insurance. I stopped sending money for temporary help. I didn't announce it. I simply let the auto payments expire, one by one. 3 weeks later, my mother called. Her voice had that familiar sharp edge. The electric company sent a disconnection notice. What happened to the payment? I stopped paying it, I said calmly. I don't live there. I never did. I was just helping. You can't just stop helping without telling us. You didn't tell me you were taking my room without asking either, I said. I guess we're even now. She hung up on me. I didn't call back. I didn't apologize. I let the silence sit exactly where it landed. Over the following weeks, the cracks started to show. Without my quiet contributions, the household budget Gary and my mother had built for years began to wobble. Vivian's wedding planning, which depended on the family pitching in, suddenly had no pitch left in it. My mother tried a softer approach next. She invited me to lunch. She talked about family and its sisterhood and how Vivian has always looked up to you. I let her talk. Then I asked one question. If Vivian looks up to me so much, why did she never once ask why I was the one paying for everything? My mother had no answer for that. I didn't need one. I already knew the answer. Vivian never asked because she never had to. That was the entire system working exactly as designed. A month later, the wedding hit a real snag. The venue deposit, which Gary had promised to cover, came up short. Guess whose name got mentioned as the family solution? This time, I said no. Clearly. Calmly. Without guilt. I'm not funding a wedding for the sister who got my room, I said. I hope it works out. But it won't be with my money. The silence on the other end of that phone call was the loudest sound I had heard from that family in years. Word travels fast in families like mine. Within days, Vivian called me directly for the first time in months. Mom said you're being difficult about the venue deposit, she said. I'm not being difficult, I said. I'm being done. Done with what? Done paying for a life I was never invited into. There was a long pause. Then Vivian said something I didn't expect. I didn't know you were paying for everything. I almost laughed. Almost. You didn't know, I repeated, because you never had to ask. That's the whole point, Vivian. You never had to ask about anything. I always did. I told her everything then. The spreadsheet. The $31,000. The years of quiet contributions while she got tutors, cars, bedrooms, and a wedding fund built on my labor. She went quiet on the phone. I could hear her breathing change. Why didn't you ever say anything? She finally asked. Because in this family, saying anything makes you the difficult one, I said. I learned that a long time ago. A week later, my mother requested a real conversation. Not a phone call. In person. We met at a coffee shop, neutral ground. Gary wasn't there. Vivian was. My mother started with the usual line. We're family. Families help each other. Families also don't take the helper's room and hand it to the one who never helped, I said. Vivian, to her credit, didn't defend our mother this time. She sat quietly, listening, maybe for the first time really hearing it. I gave what I gave willingly, I continued. But I'm done giving to a system that only sees me as useful, never as equal. I'm not angry. I'm just clear now. My mother tried the guilt one more time. So you're just going to abandon your sister's wedding? Her wedding was never my responsibility, I said. It became my responsibility because no one ever asked if it should be. I'm asking now. And the answer is no. I stood up. I left money for my coffee. I did not leave money for anything else. That was the last time I paid for something I was never thanked for. The wedding still happened, eventually. Smaller than planned. Funded properly, by the people actually getting married, without borrowing from the sister who was never given a seat at the table in the first place. I wasn't invited to walk anyone down an aisle. I wasn't asked to give a speech. I was invited as a guest, nothing more. I went. I smiled. I meant it, mostly. Because something had changed in me long before that day. I no longer needed a title or a role to know my own worth. I no longer measured my value by what my family assigned me. My mother and I speak occasionally now. Polite. Distant. Repaired just enough to function, not enough to pretend the past didn't happen. Vivian and I talk more than we used to. Not because everything is fixed. But because for the first time, she sees me. Not the useful sister. Just her sister. I moved into a new apartment last spring. Bigger than my old one. Paid for entirely by me, for me. Nobody handed it to me. Nobody took it away either. If you're watching this and you recognize yourself in me, the one who gives and gives while someone else simply receives, I want you to hear this clearly. Being needed is not the same as being valued. You can love your family and still refuse to be their solution every single time. Boundaries are not betrayal. They are the beginning of respect, even when no one claps for you when you set them. The people who only call when they need something will never call to ask how you're doing. That's not an accident. That's a pattern. And patterns only change when you stop feeding them. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to keep the room, the money, the peace, for yourself, for once. Thank you for watching. If this story reminded you of your own family, you are not alone. And you are not the difficult one. You are simply the one who finally stopped staying quiet.